Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Friday Reads. It's that time again. And this week, I have continued reading with others the Future History Project and 5 more robot stories from Isaac Asimov's The Complete Robot. And the book to film that will be up tomorrow is Dashiell Hammett's The Glass Key. And I'll speak more about this in the film, in the video for the book to film. And I also read the second volume of Bulldog Drummond, The Black Gang by Sapper, Herman Cyril McNeil. Sapper was a pseudonym because he started writing while he was in the army. He was part of the what is it now that they're called sappers. Yeah, because serving officers couldn't use their real name, but he was in Royal Engineers. That's it. Yeah, Royal Engineers, and their nickname was Sappers. So he used that as his pseudonym throughout his writing career. And this is the second volume to Bulldog Drummond. I read the first book last year, and I enjoy them. They're of their time. The first one too, and this one has to do with sort of fighting the evil communists, and it's way over the top. Like there's a thing in there saying, "Oh, these people are, they've killed women and children just because they wanted a bath. They wanted to wash." It's way over the top. But it's enjoyable. The Bulldog, Captain Hugh Drummond, is sort of this is post World War One, and he's sort of finding life a little dull. He's quite rich, so he's doing things, and he's saving the empire. He's saving the world against communism, at least in these two. And he's got old army buddies. Very, very sort of two-dimensional characters. He's sort of rough and tough and big and strong, and sort of he's got a wife, but she dotes on him, and he has to rescue her most of the time for some reason or another. But I enjoy reading them because they're of their time, and you have to give that leeway. They're of their time, and they were very popular. And they were made into films as well. There were silent films. I think the first sound one was 1929 with Ronald Colman and Joan Bennett, a blonde, very young, 19-year-old Joan Bennett at the time. I think she was about 18 or 19. Ray Milland has played Bulldog Drummond as well. And yeah, I just enjoy it. So, and I want to continue reading these stories. And I finished up Enjoy Still Felt, the autobiography of Isaac Asimov, 1954 to 1978. It's a big honking book. It's 800 pages, and there's about 350 or so that that I needed to finish reading. And there's I'm gonna talk more about this in my sort of biography of him, but there was a really good quote here that's from this. It's because he loathed Nixon, and when everything came to pass with Watergate, and that he'd been shown independently to be a criminal, but he says he was dissatisfied. Nixon's resignation preserved his pension and numerous prerequisites, and I was not impressed by the argument that it had spared the nation an ordeal. To my way of thinking, the ordeal was necessary to make certain it would never happen again. I felt that by taking the easy way out, we are storing up trouble for ourselves in the future. and I found that very interesting. But also too, this goes up to just 1978, so he died in 1992, and there are some other autobiographies and biography that will take it up to his death, which I'll be reading, not this coming week probably, but over the next few weeks. I had also read, or well, I read about a third of this over a year ago when I got it. I think I got it in 2020 or the end of 2019, probably in 2019, because it was 2018. It's Astounding. John W. Campbell, Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, L. Ron Hubbard, and the Golden Age of Science Fiction by Alec Novella-Lee. And it's published by Dell Street, an imprint of William Morrow. And as I say, in 2018. So I think I read about the first third of it, and for whatever reason, I didn't finish it. So I reread it again, and it's a look at the golden age of science fiction, basically a biography, sort of, more or less about Campbell, but with biographies of Heinlein, Hubbard, and Asimov. And it's very good at amalgamating and condensing all the information. And well, for me, I guess there wasn't really any huge revelations in this, other than, I guess, the depth of, especially L. Ron Hubbard. I knew he was insane, but I didn't realize how certifiably insane the man was, and dangerous, and how he ever escaped justice is just beyond, he was hiding out all through the 80s or the 70s too. They were after him, different countries, for fraud, and Scientology churches were raided, and but he never got caught and was punished for anything. And even all this stuff, the tall tale lying and possibly causing death to soldier or naval personnel, sailors in the Second World War. He was just absolutely insane. And there's a few other little things about Heinlein as well that were interesting that I didn't know. But it is a very good book. It's short. It's like 400 pages, just over 400 pages of text, with notes, where there's lots of quotations from letters and diaries, and especially the Asimov's autobiography is throughout. I guess, like, I had a few questions with it because I don't know how much he did go into Campbell's letters, but it's just, again, like he says, like, he'd probably people would wish maybe more about Campbell, and I wish there would be more, because I don't know how. It looked like he did do some original research for that, but for Asimov, he just used basically everything that's been published, which is a heck of a lot, and he's condensed it down, which is fine. And I found a little strange throughout and sometimes I read a book and I find errors, factual errors in it. This one I found, but, and I want to couch this in a way that the errors that I'm talking about are very minor. There are things that they don't change anything for, big things. But I found, like, it must be well over a dozen or maybe even 20 errors. And I kept wondering, well, what else am I missing that I don't know? There are little things like it's saying, Asimov was, irate that day because he had gallstones. No, he had kidney stones. And Fred Pohl's girlfriend, well, no, it was his wife. And then later he does mention his wife. So, and there's things like that, not major things. And I'm one to criticize because I don't know how many mistakes I made, either in my videos with little factual things that are wrong, or dates and stuff like that. But it just I guess I know a little bit about these people, so I was able to catch these things. But I kind of wonder how they got in there to begin with, and wonder, okay, if I've seen this many, how many more are in there? It makes me wonder. But regardless of that, it is a fabulous book, because it's probably one of the first to sort of look at things. But they're not the best of characters. It gives a very one-sided thing of science fiction, the golden age of science fiction, and most of the bad parts of these people. And that's where it might be a little failing, because it's maybe not as balanced as much. Well, you can't be balanced with Hubbard. He was just certifiably insane. Period. Um, but and it's talking about the golden age of science fiction, but there's so many authors that are not even mentioned that were big and important authors at the time. And just off the top of my head, like Clifford Simak isn't even mentioned once. Other authors are mentioned, but usually not in a good light. Some of them are, but they're very briefly. But when there is a little more about one author, he picks an author that wasn't very good. I mean, a nice person, like Donald A. Awalheim. He takes a little bit of time to talk about him. Donald A. Awalheim, he describes him aptly, I think, that today he would be a troll. He would go in to other fan things, and he would try to destroy them. He would troll. He was a troll in the 30s. So yeah, it's but it is good. Don't get me wrong. I just have reservations about it, and there's nothing that's, like I say, factually wrong in showing these people in that light, these writers in that light. However, he just seemed to pick the bad, and the ones that were sort of the most notoriously bad writers, and focus on their badness. But as I say, L. Ron Hubbard, I don't think there's any goodness that you write in there as a person. He wrote some really good early science fiction short stories, but later, not so much. Another thing that was interesting, I found out here, that I guess the Church of Scientology has. They have a bunker. It's a nuclear fallout shelter with all of L. Ron Hubbard's writings on either steel plates or archival paper in titanium casings. So, like Alec Novella Lee says, oh, well, probably, if civilization ever just gets destroyed, it might be the only thing that's left, or scraps, or complete works, is going to be L. Ron Hubbard. And I'm going, oh, God almighty, how that, like, how bad will that be? Especially, they probably won't have anything pre-Dianetics for science fiction. It'll be everything after Dianetics, and his, Battleship Earth, and Mission to Earth, or whatever it is, that decology that was so huge that they split up into 10 parts. I've not read that. I've read the Battlefield Earth. Did I say Battleship? I think it's Battlefield Earth. Uh, I don't remember. I remember liking it, sort of extent. I thought it was enjoyable as a read, as going through, but absolutely forgettable because I don't remember it. But yeah, so there is good to this. It is a very good book if you're interested in the golden age of science fiction. It's worth reading, but just keep a little sort of mindfulness that it is geared towards one thing, or mostly for one thing, which is funneled in that way, which could get you thinking completely wrong about the golden age of science fiction as a whole. And yeah, so next week I will be continuing to read 5 more stories, the Susan Calvin stories, 5 of them from Asimov's Complete Robot. And next week we'll be doing, a week from tomorrow, for the book to film, will be Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And I'll be reading it from this Penguin edition. And I also will be reading the first Philo Vance novel by S.S. Van Dyne, The Benson Murder Case. I had meant to read this last year and I never got around to it, so I found it upon a yes, because I had read the Bulldog Drummond. I thought I'd read this. This was originally published in 1926 and by Felony and Mayhem Mystery. And they've reprinted all of the Philo Vance novels. And they were made into films. There were many films made with William Powell, silent one, and even Louise Brooks was one of them, in one of them. There wasn't her voice because it was meant to be silent, but and also Jean Arthur shows up. It's actually her real voice, and William Powell's real voice, but there was issues around it. The Cat and the Canary, which is about the 4th book, I think, or 5th book. Also, I want to continue reading, which I didn't get to this week, is the Isaac Asimov Foundation Science Fiction, revised edition by James Gunn. I'm going to be reading this slowly. I'm going to read the chapter on the robot stories, and then I'll be jumping around into other books as well, which I don't have in front of me here. Also, in my big book project that I'll be reading with Scott Bryant and Brandy at the Book Eclectic, will be Francois Rabelais' Gargantua and Pantagruel. This is the Penguin edition. This is translated by M.A. Screech. It was written approximately late 1400s. And I've read this 3 times before, but not this translation, I don't think. So this will be a nice treat. It's just over 1,000 pages. As I say, we'll be reading it in March. And there'll be at least one or a few other of viewers, subscribers will be reading along with us as well. I don't think there's any specific. I need to speak to Scott. I don't know if he wanted to read certain sections of it and then talk about it. I need to discuss that with him. But otherwise, if not, then I'll probably be trying to do this in the first week and a half or so of March with everything else. And also too, February. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. February. And February is February Fantasy Stories, and it's short stories. It's headed up by the Bookish Bryants, and I will be one of the hosts with a small h, because I'm not going to be reading that much. But I'll be there's 4 prompts. There is classic fantasy. That's the first week. Second week is dark fantasy, I think, and I might have these mixed up. And then the third week is sword and sorcery, and the fourth week is urban fantasy. So for the first week, I'll be dipping into the big book of classic fantasy by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to read yet. I probably won't be starting to read this until later in the week. I'll try to read a couple stories out of here, and there'll be some really older ones, but I haven't figured out which ones yet. But yeah, so that is my reading this week and what I plan on reading next week, and there will be continuation of videos for the Future History Project. Monday, dealing with 2 or 3 stories, and then on Tuesday, continuation of the biography of Isaac Asimov. Thursday with the remainder of the stories, and then Friday with something else a little bit. And I'll be starting probably a week or two later. I'll be starting to have other shorter videos regarding specific things of Isaac Asimov, his sort of relation or his view of other science fiction writers. And I'll just do a little quick synopsis of that, what he says about other writers. And also too, I do have 2 volumes of writings that he's done as essays on science fiction. So eventually I'll be going through those and talking about his view, through those essays of science fiction, and there'll be small little videos as well interspersed. So there'll be lots for the Future History Project. It's not just I'm anyway not doing just the stories. I'm trying to get some background with everything too, providing context and everything, which is going to be haphazard because I will be coming across things that may have worked better a week or two before, but so be it. It'll be there to sort of look at on the playlist. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or join us next week for Gargantuan Pantagruel or the classic fantasy, and even it's still not too late to catch up with the Future History Project. So I'll see you next time, BookTube. Take care.